Hey, I'm Dean and this is Legacy Voyage. In Season 1, I'm documenting my journey to earning my first 100K net worth as a full-time college student. Join me as I share some of the lessons I learned along the way.
Growing up, especially going to like elementary, middle school, there was this thing that everyone did before school starts, and it's the back to school shopping. And it would be this whole adventure. You get all the siblings, you'd pack them in a van, and then you head to the store. Each one of them has their shopping list in their hand. They're trying to study it. Okay, this is what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna go to this aisle, then I'm gonna get those, and then I go to the next aisle, and they're scheming it in their head before they even get there. And then by the time you get there, kids hop out and we race into the store. We're running all around trying to grab all our stuff. Each of us have our own little cart. And then we're going around in the car, grabbing all the stuff, throwing it in there. And then you finally get to the end of the trip and then you have like 4 cars lined up because there's 4 kids and it's the whole thing. And then you start scanning them and then the number on the ticker goes up. And then eventually you're like, oh, dang, that's a lot of money. Well, that's how it was. Like growing up, there would always be this big adventure we'd go on before school starts. And that's when we all go and we get the stuff that we need to start school. And we go and do that. And you come to the first day of school and you got your backpack and your brand new notebooks, and then you get your binder or folder. And I'd always have to get a new one every single year because I lost it that summer. Like, for example, there'd be 3rd grade and I'd get all the new stuff and I have my binder, my pencil pack and all the things that we need. And then I'd have that. And I would tell her, yeah, well, I'll definitely save this. Like, I'm not going to lose this stuff. I'll definitely keep it for next year. And then that summer comes around and I put it away and then I eventually just lose it. And so 4th grade comes around and you're like, oh, I guess we need like a new everything. And it was like clockwork every single year. This is how they get you, man. This is how Target and Walmart, that's how they get you. Every single year, they hit you with a back-to-school shopping trip. And then you pull up to class first day of school, and you're like, oh, well, I guess we didn't use any of the 5 notebooks that they told us to get. And they're like, okay, no biggie. I'm sure we'll use it eventually. And a week passes by, and then a month passes by. And then eventually, you're like halfway into the school year, and you realize you only use like one of the notebooks. And honestly, you didn't even need that notebook. You could have just bought some paper and then done it all there. And that's what I kept running into. It was like elementary, middle school. It would happen like clockwork. And I didn't even realize it until I get to high school. And I was like, okay, no, that's it. I'm done with this. I am not going to do this again. Where I'm packing up all the stuff just in case I might need it because that's what it says on the shopping list. And so I was like, okay, I'm not doing this whole back to school shopping thing. And so freshman year of high school, I remember this so vividly. Freshman year of high school, we pull up and I'm late. Okay, it's not a good start to a brand new school that you've never been to. And I went to middle school like in Oregon. Then I end up in Vegas for high school. So I'm pulling up to this high school. It's the first day and I'm like brand new, don't know anyone. I haven't even been to the school. I haven't even visited the school before I went there. And so first day of class, I literally had no idea where it was at. So I was like a kid in a maze trying to figure out my way to go and everyone's around. It was like a kid at Disneyland, doesn't know where to go and he's lost. And so I was trying to ask around, I was like, okay, where do I go for this class that I have? And then I finally get to the class, I sit down. Of course, I walk in late and the teacher's already up there, like introducing everyone, going over the syllabus, stuff like that, like icebreakers or something like that. And then I walk in and one of the icebreakers, she said, okay, I want everyone to pull out a piece of paper and write like your favorite candy bar down or something like that. And I was like, oh, I took it to the extreme where I slowly rose my hand, kind of nervous. And I said, do you have an extra pencil I could borrow by chance? And I literally pulled up to class, no folder, no paper, not even a pencil to write with. And I showed up late. And that was first day of freshman year of high school. And you can imagine how that was my first impressions of the teacher. Like, who is this random kid has the audacity to pull up to the first day of class and doesn't even have a pencil ready. No, but it's all cool because that teacher ended up being super chill. She actually wrote my like letter of rec to get into the scholarship program, but it was a dub. She was a dubbing teacher. But that's like one of the many, many examples of when I take something and I just go 100% with it, or honestly like 110%, a little too far. And then later I realized there's a bit more nuance into it. But I was like, okay, instead of going into school and having all of these supplies, all these school supplies in my backpack, just in case I need them. Instead of doing that, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to buy the things that I need. Like, let's say a week in, see the things that I actually need just in time for when I need them. And so that's what I did. From that point forward, all of my high school classes, even now in college classes, that's what I do. I don't like look at the syllabus and see all the textbooks and stuff that they put on there. They require us to get it. Like, no, I'll get it just in time. And I've applied this same type of thinking, the same framework to skills and to experience and all those things. Like, for example, let's say the skill is like finance or something, or like getting really, really good in Excel. Let's say that's the skill. My thinking behind this, taking it to the extreme, is I don't want to go and learn Excel and get really, really good in Excel if I don't need it. Because right now, the biggest thing is identifying my biggest constraint on my growth. Let's say, like, a real example of right now is project management. Like, project management is something that I'm trying to do, not only project management, but people management, getting those skills in place where I can actually get someone to do that when I want them to do. More importantly, is like get them to do that thing without this carrot dangling at the back of the stick of money. But that's the skill that I'm diving deep into right now of, okay, I'm going to go and read all the books and listen to all the podcasts that is all focusing around this one thing. And even with something like relationships, I think is a great example of what's the point of going and reading all the books on relationships and getting really good at it when you're not even in one. And so this idea of just in time, of like, now that I'm in a relationship with someone and I say, okay, you know what, now is probably a good time to start looking into some of this stuff and getting really good with it. Of like, okay, what does it take to be in a committed relationship? What does that look like? How do you fulfill the other person's like love language or love tank and all those different things? That's one example of just in time learning versus just in case. And it's the reason why I'm honestly just not a big fan of the school system, the way we do school, especially in America, because it rewards you for all of this just in case learning, just in case thinking of, okay, here's what I'm going to give you. This is a thing called the theorem. Hold it in your back pocket just in case you need it, like 10 years from now when you're trying to figure out the third thing of the right triangle. Like, you'll have the Pythagorean theorem or even calculus. Like, they'll give this to you. And if your whole career set, you want to go and be like a theater major or something, or go and be an actor, when in the world are you ever going to need to know or learn calculus? Like, that's the type of examples of where this just in case learning is like, I just don't like it. Honestly, I'm not a fan of it. And so I've always been of the just in time learning where you go out and you do an internship and you gain real experience, because like this real on the job experience. And in the internship, you figure out, oh, that's why I need to know how to evaluate a business. And then you go and learn how to evaluate a business. Or you're like, oh, that's why I need to go and be really good in Excel. And then you go and you learn how to be really good in Excel. And you gain those skills just in time because it actually applies to the situation and you actually need it. It's like, it's an actual constraint in your life. And I took that to the extreme, but eventually I've come to this more of a nuanced view of, okay, it's not all just in time learning, because I think there are some things they can go into it and you can gain the skill and not know how that skill will apply in the future. But maybe gaining it just out of like pure enjoyment of the thing, I think is also valuable. Like, one great example of this is that I want to learn Tongan. Is it a huge constraint in my life? No. Well, not besides the fact that I kind of needed to graduate. Like, I need to learn the language in order to graduate. But if I didn't have that, then it's not like a huge constraint on my life. I mean, I could go on just fine without learning the language, but I really want to learn the language. And even other examples of like other people's stories. For example, Steve Jobs. When he was in college, one random class he took, I think he just walked in, or he took like a calligraphy class, like fancy writing class. And in the time, of course, he has no idea how that is going to apply in the future and how he's going to apply like, oh, okay, and now I'm doing a tech business and creating products. No way this calligraphy thing is going to apply. But then he gets to that point in his life and he looks back, and in the moment, it's just all these dots. You're creating all these dots, all the skills and experience that you're putting along this graph called life. And it's not until you look back where it actually starts to make sense. It actually becomes like this line that you start connecting these things together. And with him, when he created the Mac, he actually applied those calligraphy learnings to make it really, really stand out. He put in fonts, and you could actually have different fonts for your computer. And that was a huge thing that set Apple apart from everyone else. It was like, oh, dang, this is actually different. Apple is actually built different. And so that's just one example of like that is just in case learning, like really learning just out of the pure love and enjoyment for the thing. And then eventually you'll connect it together. And so, not really sure what the whole point of this episode is or the big lesson, big takeaway, but I think it's this balance of just in time versus just in case learning. And when I was super little, you're going to school for the first time, you take it to the extreme of, I'm going to buy every single thing on this shopping list. And if it's just recommended, I'm still going to get it. I'm going to get like 2 things of it. So I'll be double prepared. And then you show up to class and you never use like even half of the stuff that you bought. Or you take it to the other extreme. When I went to high school for the first time, showed up to school, first day of class, and I raised my hand because I don't even have a pencil and I'm not even ready for class. So those are like the 2 extremes of it. But then being more nuanced in the view in this middle ground of, okay, maybe not be too over prepared, but also not like too underprepared. Because those are 2 very, very opposite sides of the scale. And I think nuance has become like my new favorite word because I've noticed is that everything is more nuanced. And so that's just one thing I wanted to share in this episode. And for the life update, we'll really just like an update in general. The reason I haven't posted this one or this one's kind of like delayed is because for some reason my AirPods stopped working and that was just like annoying because I couldn't record these while I'm on walks or something. So actually, even right now, like I'm pacing around in a random classroom at 9 p.m. because that's when my class just finished. But yeah, just the update around that. I think going back to my main things that I always focus on first is health. So for the health update, I saw this like LinkedIn post talking about how he's creating this newsletter thing. And the whole point of it is to, first of all, probably to just build his audience, personal brand and stuff, but also hold him accountable, where he's going to be posting his numbers and have this group of people that will hopefully hold him accountable to the things that he sets out to do, to his goals. And I actually thought that was a brilliant idea. Like, that is brilliant because I track and measure really most of the stuff regarding health, where it's like, oh, specifically physical health, because those are super easy to track. You just track what you eat, you track your workouts and your weight. And I was like, okay, boom, that's it. There you go. And there's really like no way to cheat around that stuff. And so that's something that I'm thinking of looking into. Not even thinking about, I'm going to, I just don't know when. So that'll be cool to look forward to. And then it also got me thinking about if there are other ways to maybe measure mental health or measure relationships or measure wealth. Because you can measure health and wealth, at least physical health, pretty easily. Where physical health is just your numbers, like your macros and your workouts and your weight. Like that's super easy. Your wealth is like your bank account, basically, and you're good to go. But even something like mental health is kind of hard to track, or something like relationships. How do you measure that? How do you measure your people? Well, I mean, it's just I don't know how you do that, but it's something that I was thinking about as I'm thinking through like how I would hold myself accountable. And maybe it would be time spent with them, but not sure. In terms of health, I've definitely noticed that on days where I don't get the workout in that I want to get in, or I don't get my steps in, I just feel off. Like it impacts me mentally as well. And not only does it do that, but it also impacts the way I eat. Because I've noticed on days where I'm not really on top of my diet, I'm also not really working out, I'm also not really walking. And so it just becomes this whole spiral, this whole spin wheel of, I think it's called like flywheels, but these feedback loops of negativity, basically. And so that's something that I definitely think holding myself accountable through something like tracking my food, tracking my weight, all of those things will definitely help. And so that's the biggest update in terms of health. I mean, honestly, I did like hit a personal PR for my bench, which I'm kind of happy about. Can't complain about that one. But yeah, it's definitely a whole process of learning. And even on those days where they are tough, meaning maybe I don't get the work done that I wanted to, maybe I don't get the workout in. Like even on those days, I think are learning experiences of, okay, that happened. Now, what am I going to learn from it? How am I going to actually implement those learnings into my life? And so that's the update in terms of my health with relationships. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode, it's like my first go around at being in an actual relationship. And so it's been a ride. It's been a ride and it's been a good ride. Like I've been really enjoying it. The process of me trying to grow as a person, but also helping the other person grow. And we're in this thing together. It's kind of really powerful, actually. And it's kind of combining all of the different books and lessons that I've read along the years. Like, for example, I recently finished the growth mindset book by Carol Dweck. And it was this whole idea of applying growth mindset to relationships like work and sports and all these different aspects. But I just thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, families chill. They came this past weekend, actually, for a really, really huge moment that I'll get to at the end of this episode. But before I do, quick update around wealth. In terms of wealth for my work, and maybe I'll change the phrasing that I use around like the different categories, because I think it's better of held people work. But update around my work, honestly, like even today, I didn't get as much work done as I would have liked to. And part of the reason is because I just couldn't get like the deep work stuff that I wanted to get done because I always had these like small interruptions throughout the day. Another part of it is that there's a lot of networking. And I noticed the importance of networking because there was a summer internship that I applied to and I got to like second round interviews and I'm thinking I'm getting the job because I'm like the perfect qualification. It was like a senior living finance position. I was like, bro, I've literally been deep in the senior living industry for ages now. Ain't no other college sophomore is going to be deep into the senior living space like I am right now. And I'm also like an extremely hard worker. So like, oh yeah, I'll get this thing for sure, for sure. And then they emailed me back, or actually I sent them the second round interview stuff and I didn't get called in for the third round interviews. It's like, oh, well, that's tough. And then a couple months pass by and I meet the founder of the firm that I wanted to go intern. And I meet the founder and I'm talking with him and then we get chatting like, oh, sick. And then we reconnect a week later over Zoom and we're talking more. And I was telling him, I was like, oh, I actually applied to your summer internship. And he was like, bro, why didn't you tell me? I would have gotten you the internship. I was like, oh my goodness, are you serious? And so that was really the thing of like, oh, I guess networking actually is really, really, really important if you're trying to go and like snag an internship or do some type of deal or something. But there's that. And so there's this like Deloitte thing that I'm looking at, maybe getting maybe like a Bain thing, but it looks like consulting might be like the option. If I don't go do this entrepreneurship thing or startup thing straight out of college, then it'll probably be like some type of consulting path. So there's that. The other thing is I applied to Jumpstart, which is like this program we have on campus to work on the startup full time and doing the interview for that. I think sometime next week. We'll see how that goes. And yeah, in terms of news, recruited another person. She'll be a huge help with the newsletter and stuff. And then, yeah, I think the biggest thing is having authentic conversations with Pacific Islanders is probably where a good chunk of my time could be spent. That would be super, super helpful. But yeah, and then biggest update in terms of my spiritual health, I can't believe I didn't mention this earlier, is my patriarchal blessing. It's something that they do in the Mormon church or the Mormon faith, LDS, where they have this patriarchal blessing. And it's like basically a compass or some guidance, some advice that you can live by that'll point you in the direction that you want to go, if you want to go that way. And so I got that this past weekend and it's honestly amazing. It was really, really cool to have this direction that I get from my life that I can apply moving forward. And really the biggest aha moment, or the biggest epiphany, not the biggest one, but one of the many big epiphanies that I had that day was this why, this idea of my reason for doing all of these things. Like you just listen to me telling a story and all the lessons I learned from it. Like what even the point is this podcast? Like what the heck? And so I got really thinking about that. And I've come to the conclusion that, at least for now, my why is getting me closer to my dream identity of the person that I want to become. Because if I go look back at a year ago today and I'm listening to those podcasts, I've grown so much since then. And it's honestly so exciting to me thinking of all the growth that'll come a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when I'm looking back at this very moment, this very podcast, I'm thinking, man, that's what I went through. Look at where I'm at now. I hope that I can grow even more in the next years. And that's my why of my dream identity. And for a while, I was like, okay, I have this dream identity that I'm trying to go after. How do I mesh that with all the other things, with the fact that I am really prioritizing myself and my own mental health, and then also putting my work in there. And then I also want to be there for the ones I love. How do I mesh all of this into my dream identity? And I realized that I think for now, I see my dream identity as Jesus. And that I think is really, really powerful because it brings together everything that I want to be as a person, where he was mentally healthy. He was physically healthy, I'm assuming. I mean, I don't see any depictions of him like being super overweight, super obese, because I mean, he's probably like walking everywhere, clean food, assuming. But assuming all of those were in check, spiritual health was off the charts. And then you look at his relationships and he's like working with people that he really, really loves, and he's enjoying the work that he's doing. And not only that, but he's like literally the world's greatest leader. And that's the person I want to become. That's the type of leader that I want to embody 10 years from now. Maybe not perfectly, well, actually, definitely not perfectly like he did, but at least strive to be that type of leader. Someone like Jesus who was able to love and also discipline and also criticize and also hold accountable all of my members who I'm responsible for. Not only that, but truly care for the people that I'm serving, which is what he did. And I think that's really, really powerful. And there's so many other lessons that maybe I'll get into it in the next one, but this one's getting longer than it usually does. And that's because, I mean, we've learned a bunch of lessons, and lessons are always a good thing, always a good thing. But yeah. I record these episodes completely free to share success with everyone. So the only thing I ask is that if you learned anything or found something interesting in this episode, just leave a review and share it with a friend. Only takes 5 seconds and it would mean the world. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next episode. Tatok, see you.